Welcome back to Work Past the Record, the podcast where we have honest conversations about reentry, employment, second chances, and rebuilding a future beyond a criminal record. I'm Lori, your host. Today's episode is one that hits close to home for many people coming out of incarceration. We're talking about what it means to be released with absolutely nothing and having to start over from scratch. The title of this one is Starting Over with Nothing, Rebuilding After Release. So you come out of jail and you have no identification, no social security card, no job, no housing, no transportation, no support system, no money in the bank, no one waiting on the outside. For many people, release day is supposed to be a celebration. Society often imagines someone walking out of a facility and immediately beginning a new life. But for many individuals, release day feels less like freedom and more like standing at the bottom of a mountain with no map and no supplies. The reality is that many people leave incarceration carrying everything they own in a small bag. They walk into a world that expects them to have identification, stable housing, reliable transportation, internet access, a phone number, work history, references, and money. The challenge isn't simply finding a job. The challenge is rebuilding an entire life. Today, we're going to talk about the realities of starting over, the obstacles people face immediately after release, and practical steps for moving forward when it feels like you're beginning with nothing. The reality of release day is one that many people who have never experienced incarceration have a very difficult idea of what release day looks like than reality. They imagine freedom, they imagine relief, they imagine excitement. And while those emotions may certainly be present, many people also experience fear, anxiety, uncertainty, and even panic. Think about it for a moment. You've spent months, years, or even decades in a highly structured environment. Every hour of your day has been scheduled. Your meals were planned, your housing was predetermined, your routine rarely changed. Then suddenly you're standing outside the gate. Nobody telling you what comes next. Nobody is handing you a roadmap. And for some people, nobody is even there to pick them up. The first day can feel overwhelming. Questions begin flooding your mind. Where am I sleeping tonight? How am I going to eat? Who can I call? How do I get transportation? How do I replace my documents? How do I find work? How long before I run out of the little money I have? What happens if nobody hires me? These aren't small concerns. These are survival concerns. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about reentry is the idea that finding a job is the only challenge. Employment is important, but employment is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. You may not have an ID. You may not have a phone. You may not have a place to sleep. You may not have transportation, clothing appropriate for interviews, internet access to complete online applications. You may not even know where to begin. The reality is that release day isn't the finish line, it's the starting line. And many people are starting that race several steps behind everyone else. But that's what I want listeners to understand. Starting behind doesn't mean staying behind. Thousands of people rebuild every year, not because it's easy, but because they keep taking one step at a time. The first 3 days after release are often some of the most critical days in the reentry process. The first 72 hours matter. When people think about success after incarceration, they often think months or years into the future. But success frequently starts with the decisions that are made during the first 72 hours. The first priority is safety. Where are you sleeping tonight? Maybe it's transitional housing. Maybe it's a shelter. Maybe it's a family member's couch. Maybe it's a reentry program. The important thing is finding stability. Without stable housing, every other challenge becomes harder. The next priority is food. No one makes good decisions when they're hungry. We all know that, right? Many communities offer food pantries, churches, community kitchens, and emergency assistance programs. There's no shame in using the resources designed to help people get back on their feet. Transportation is another immediate concern. How do you get to appointments? How are you going to get to job interviews? How are you getting to workforce centers or government offices? Transportation barriers can quickly become employment barriers. Communication is equally important. Many employers won't leave multiple voicemails. Many agencies won't repeatedly call. Having access to a phone, even a basic one, can make an enormous difference. And I want to just add this in as well. Make sure you have the voicemail set up. And when you do have the voicemail set up, make sure you clear it out. I don't know how many times I call people, the voicemail is full. Then I have to send a text and then I never hear back. Or I call and there is no voicemail set up. So you can't leave a message. Even if you're new out of the system and you don't know technology, you have to know somebody that does that can help you set up a voicemail. It's imperative. The first 72 hours aren't creating the perfect future. They're about creating enough stability to begin building one. When you're overwhelmed, focus on the next step. Not the next year, not the next month, the next step. Let's talk about something many people take for granted until they don't have it: identification. In today's world, proving who you are is essential. Without identification, many opportunities immediately become more difficult to access. You may struggle to obtain employment, access housing. You may struggle to open a bank account. You may struggle to receive benefits and services. Many individuals leave incarceration without a driver's license, state issued ID, social security card, or birth certificate. Replacing these documents can feel overwhelming. The process often requires paperwork, fees, appointments, transportation, and sometimes documents that you don't currently possess are needed for you to be able to get the documents you need. This creates a frustrating cycle. You need identification to get a job. You need money from a job to obtain identification. You need transportation to get the documents. You need identification to access transportation programs. For some people, these obstacles feel impossible. But here's the truth: every document you obtain is a victory. A birth certificate may not seem exciting, but it's the first step. A replacement social security card may not seem life changing, but it is. A state issued ID may not seem like a major accomplishment, but again, it sure is. Each one opens another door. Each one creates another opportunity. Each one moves you closer to independence. Success in recovery is often built in small victories. Now, looking for work without resources. Finding employment after release can feel intimidating. Now, imagine trying to find employment without stable housing, without transportation, a phone, current references, current work history, confidence. Many people face all these challenges simultaneously. The job search process can feel discouraging. Applications ask for information you don't have. Employers ask questions you're nervous about answering. Background checks create anxiety. Rejection feels personal. But one thing I tell people constantly is this: your first job does not have to be your dream job. Your first job after release is often a bridge to stability, a bridge to income, a bridge to experience, a bridge to your next opportunity. Too many people feel discouraged because they're focused on finding the perfect position immediately. Instead, focus on getting your foot in the door. Focus on showing up. Focus on proving reliability. Focus on building a work history. Focus on creating momentum. Momentum matters. One job leads to experience. Experience leads to confidence. Confidence leads to opportunity. Opportunity leads to growth. Every successful career begins somewhere. Housing is one of the most significant barriers facing people after release. Many people discover that finding housing can actually be more difficult than finding employment. Why is that? Rental applications often require a proof of income, application fees, security deposits, background checks, credit checks, references. For someone starting over, these requirements can feel impossible. Now, if you don't have your documentation, an ID, a birth certificate, a social security card that you can take to prove to a job that you are really a citizen and that you really exist, then you don't have money coming in. So how are you going to get housing? You need to have all those other things first so you can get housing and be able to be stable for a job, right? Traditional housing programs and supportive housing resources can be life-changing. Housing provides more than shelter, it provides stability. When people know where they're sleeping, they can focus on employment. When they focus on employment, they can create income. When they create income, they can create choices. Everything becomes connected. Without housing, survival mode continues. With housing, planning becomes possible. A stable address can create opportunities that homelessness often prevents. Housing isn't just where you live, it's about creating a foundation for everything else. When we talk about housing programs and supportive housing resources, we're talking about transitional housing. Some jails and prisons offer transitional housing to inmates that are leaving that have nowhere else to go. It might be sharing a room with somebody, but you've been doing that while you've been incarcerated anyways. So, is really sharing a room with someone in a transitional house bad? No. It's helping you build the stability you need because, as we said, when you have a stable place to sleep or you know you have a safe place to sleep, you're more inclined to be really actively looking for employment when you're ready. We talked about in a different podcast episode, correct? You have to be ready to work, not just want to work, you have to be ready to work. Also, there are sober houses that go along with the transitional housing, and some of them require you to pay because it's what takes care of the expenses of the house. So you may have to pay $100 a week or 150 depending on the house and depending on where it is. A lot of times there are programs that will help you with the first few weeks rent so that you can at least get in to the Oxford house or the sober house, get stabilized and then be able to begin to work and pay on your own. You just have to look around for it, and if you don't know how, there's people in the prisons, in the jails that can help you, but there's also people on the outside that can help you. There's United Way, there is Catholic Charities. If you know how to get on the internet, you can go on and look at Oxford houses in whatever area you're in and see where there's openings. And sometimes when you talk to the people or the president of that house, they will then help you with resources to be able to get into the house. They all know where they are. So it's creating a foundation for everything else. Again, if you've ever seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the very base is shelter, clothing, food, water, air. It's building that stable foundation because you cannot move up if you don't have a stable foundation. So housing is important. Then you need to build a support system. One of the most painful realities of reentry is that not everyone returns home to support. Some relationships have been damaged. Some trust has been broken. Some people have lost contact with family entirely, and this can create feelings of loneliness and isolation. But support systems can be rebuilt. Support can come from unexpected places: mentors, case managers, career coaches, recovery groups, faith communities, reentry organizations, employers who believe in second chances. Sometimes the person who changes your life isn't a family member at all. It's a stranger who sees potential where others only see a record. It's a workforce specialist who refuses to give up on you. It's a mentor who answers your call when things get difficult. It's an employer willing to offer an opportunity. Never underestimate the power of one's support system. One conversation can change your direction. One opportunity can change your future. A lot of the people that I work with are referred to us through some of these types of programs. We have a large treatment court, adult treatment court, and they refer a lot of people to us. We have a homeless shelter that refers people to us when they know the person's getting close to the 30 days and they can work and they have a criminal background. We get referrals from probation officers. We get referrals right from the jail when somebody's getting ready to be released or the prison. We get referrals from sober living houses. There are so many avenues out there that you can find support. The first thing you do is you hit a meeting. You meet other people. You tell them that you just got out. You ask them if they know where you can get housing, where you can get help, where people are they're always willing to tell you because they've been in the same boat as you. So your family may not be talking to you. They're hurt or you've damaged that relationship over time. They may have forgiven you, they may not have. People pass away when you're in prison. You may have lost maybe a parent who was your only means of support. People move away. Sometimes you get out of prison or jail and you don't even know where your family is because they've left the area and they have not left you a forwarding address. You may have siblings that are still harboring anger towards you for what you've put the family through for all this time. You may have had children who you haven't seen in years, months, decades. They don't want anything to do with you because their life has been affected by your past. Sometimes we can't go back. sometimes we have to look new. So sometimes that stranger you meet is the person that's going to be the one that gives you the hand up. I have a gentleman who has nobody in this area. He didn't know what to do. He ran into one of my people that were in my program, and that person went to a meeting with him, did a little bit of ministry with him, and led him to our program. And it's probably the best thing that could have happened to him. It actually saved him, I think. So you never know where that help is going to come from. So being open to meeting new people and talking to a stranger on the street and hearing what they have to say or at a meeting never hurts. If you find an employer that's willing to offer you a second chance, if they are a second chance employer, they're taking a chance in you. That is supporting you. That's telling you that they saw something in you that is them willing to give you an opportunity, to give you a chance. Sometimes the person that changes your life might be the person you met 5 minutes ago. You never know. You never know who you're meeting. So just remember, there is support systems out there, even if you feel like I have no support system. I don't have my family. I don't have my old friends. I don't have, my kids. It's fine. You're going to build a new support system, but you have to put the effort into it. What does this all cause? Well, then it causes a mental battle of starting over, correct? Perhaps the hardest challenge after release isn't physical, it's mental. Starting over requires resilience. You may hear no repeatedly. No from landlords, no from employers, no from agencies, no from people who you thought would help you. Rejection can become exhausting. After enough disappointment, people begin questioning themselves. Maybe I'll never find a job. Maybe nobody will rent to me. Maybe things will never change. Those thoughts are understandable, but they're also dangerous because when people stop believing progress is possible, they stop taking action. And when action stops, progress stops. The people who succeed aren't always the most talented. They aren't always the most educated. They aren't always the most connected. Often they're simply the people who refuse to quit. The people who submitted one more application, made one more phone call, attended one more appointment, showed up one more time. Progress doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes progress is obtaining an ID. Sometimes it's completing a resume. Sometimes it's attending an interview. Sometimes it's simply refusing to give up. Small victories create momentum. Momentum creates change, and change creates opportunity. If you don't quit, you will be successful. For all the no's, I want you to think of it this way. Every time you get one no, that means there's 3 yeses out there somewhere for you. You just haven't found them yet. What happens when people give up and think there's just no hope? It doesn't just stop progress, but it can sometimes lead to recidivism and someone deciding that, going back to dealing drugs is just so much easier. I can get all my old clients back. I can get all my old hookups back and I can make some quick cash. I can get back into robbing old ladies on the street of their purse. I can get back into scamming people. I can get back into shoplifting and reselling. That's what happens when people give up. You revert back to the life you had before incarceration. Most people don't want that. They've done their time. They've gotten out. They're giving life a second chance. And they're being given a second chance to prove to society that they are worth the opportunity. And as hard as it can be to hear all those no's and feel rejected, it can really get you down. That's when you jump into a meeting. That's when you call someone. Maybe you met someone. You talk to someone. Talk to the stranger on the street. Talk to the person at the meeting. They will always go to a church and talk to a minister or a pastor or a priest. Someone is always going to be there to turn it around and make you see the light side of the darkness you're in. I think it's important. I tell my people all the time, reach out to me if you're struggling, because I would rather have to answer my phone at 2 in the morning to prevent you from doing something dumb that's either going to kill you or put you back in jail. I'd rather lose the sleep to make sure that you're going to be okay. So change creates opportunity. Changing your way of thinking, changing the path that you've always followed, and trying this new venture, that's going to create the opportunity for you. You just have to refuse to give up. You have to know inside of you that the struggle is here now so that the opportunity it's presenting you will be a cakewalk afterwards. We all struggle at some point in life, whether we have a record or we don't have a record. Everybody struggles. And if they tell you they don't, they're lying. If you're listening today and you're starting over with nothing, I want you to remember something important. You are not defined by what you have on release day. You are not defined by the money in your pocket. You are not defined by your housing situation. You are not defined by your criminal record. You are defined by the choices you make going forward. Every application submitted, every document replaced, every interview attended, every positive decision made, every obstacle overcome, those actions become your new story. Rebuilding a life is not easy. There will be setbacks. There will be frustrations. There will be moments when progress feels slow. But slow progress is still progress, and every step forward matters. We all want instant gratification. It's human nature. But we have to learn that progress sometimes takes time. Let's say, for example, you're building a house. Well, you're excited about the house and you just want to get in it. But there's a delay on the particular lumber you need, or there's a delay on the countertops you want, or the windows, or the roofing. Progress is slow. Do we get upset? We sure do. But what can we do to make it go faster? You can't because there's a delay. Progress takes time. Okay. It's a slow process. Sometimes it moves faster than we expect, but you have to be patient and you have to be dedicated to making that progress pay off. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Work Past the Record. Remember, your record may be part of your story, but it does not have to determine your future. Until next time, keep moving forward, keep believing in second chances, and keep working past the record. Have a good 2 weeks.